My name is Mick Wright. I'm a candidate for Shelby County Commission in District 3.
Mick, why do you want to be a Shelby County Commissioner?
So the reason why I'm running is because I think I want to see the young people in my community have a safe place to live, have plenty of opportunity to develop in their careers, and to be equipped with a great education system. Mm-hmm. And those are three areas where I believe that the County Commission can play a role. And those would be my focus areas if I'm successful in this effort.
What do you do for a living?
So I work for youth villages. I've been there since 2003, so I'm coming up on my 15 years with youth villages. I'm in communications over there. Mm-hmm. Just started a new role heading up our internal communications. So we have youth villages is really one of the success stories that Memphis can boast of.
For people who don't know what it is, explain a little bit.
Yeah, so youth villages, we start out as a residential facility. Two residential facilities merged. It provides counseling for young people. Mm-hmm. So those two campuses merged and created what is now youth villages. That was in 1986. Mm-hmm. And now we are in 13 states across the country, and we have over 3,000 employees. Mm-hmm. So my role is helping communicate all the things that need to be communicated with all those people in all those places.
How did you get involved with youth villages?
I just saw an ad probably in the Commercial Appeal, actually, yeah. So back at that time,
where's the cover price?
Yes, absolutely. There weren't quite as much online opportunities at that time. Probably there was Monster or something like that, but things are a little different now. But yeah, so at that time I was working before that as a marketing director for an immigration law firm. So I work for, I've really been fortunate in my career. I've gotten to work with some of the preeminent people in a couple of industries. So the law firm I worked with was under Greg Siskind, who's really a very nationally respected attorney in immigration. At that time, Youth Villages was looking for someone who had some of the skills I had picked up there.
So you grew up in Shelby County?
No, I'm from Iowa, originally from Des Moines.
What brought you to Shelby County?
So I've got a brother who's 5 years senior, and I kind of a little bit followed his path. We both grew up in Iowa, as I said, and we both went to school over at Harding University in Arkansas.
Searcy?
Searcy, yeah. And so he married a girl here from Bartlett, and I married a Nashvillian. Mm-hmm. So we both, fortunately, ended up together, living together in Bartlett. So it's been nice having family, being so far away from where I grew up, but having family here.
Yeah. What drew you to public service?
So, yeah, it's always been interesting to me, even as a youngster watching C-SPAN, and just always have had an interest in public policy and in campaigns. So I've been involved here at the various levels, from the most local race to county races to state and national. Just have enjoyed getting involved and getting to know some of the people who run our government. So,
as you've gotten to know them, what is it about getting to know them and see what they do that made you want to become an elected official?
That's a good question, David. I don't know that it was particularly knowing them that made me want to do it. I think in my particular case, I just saw an opportunity to serve. I've just been looking for different ways to serve. So the last probably 10 years or so, I've been, so we bought our first home in Bartlett about 10 years ago. And at that time, I just really wanted to dig in big time in my local community. And so I joined the county party steering committee. At that time, I was also getting more involved a few years later was the municipal school stuff. So I got to work really put together the group that was running the referendum in favor of the Bartlett school system. and through that effort got to know a lot of the key players in Bartlett at least.
And then you ran for alderman. What was that experience like?
Yeah.
Did that discourage you or encourage you to keep going?
Running for office, I would recommend it in some ways to everybody. What it did for me was it made me really be introspective. And it made me think of all, like I said, I'd been following politics for many years, and I guess I realized I had such high expectations for people who run for office that every year it would be one more thing that I would add. I want to see this from that person, and so it made me see all the areas where I was deficient. Basically, that I would like to know a lot more. I'd like to be able to speak a lot more. I'd like to be more charismatic. I'd like, all these things, and it also helped me put my priorities in order.
How so?
Because I was thinking, what really comes first in my life? What's most important to me? What comes next? And how do I, if I do succeed, what comes first? What comes, where does family fit? Where does my work fit? Where does serving these various ways fit? So
running for office, you said it helped you understand better, maybe have more realistic expectations about public servants, public officials.
Yeah.
Was it sort of a reality check?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't changed terribly my outlook or my principles haven't changed. My policy preferences haven't changed, but maybe I've become a little more realistic about what's doable, and also just to be a little more merciful with people. So one of the things that's been really most encouraging to me this time around is the gentleman that I ran against 4 years ago for alderman in Bartlett. He's now supporting me, and we've gotten to be pretty good friends. And so, and he's been one of the most encouraging people to me as well, and has given me a lot of good advice. And so that's Bubba Pleasant, Alderman Pleasant, great guy. At that time when we ran it for the same seat, he was just the one that I just didn't know too well, and it was just, again, looking for a way to serve. But I'm thankful for that, having encountered him in that way and seeing his grace for me, the way that he didn't hold that against me, that I was running against him, and that he's still willing to be a benefit to me. So that speaks a lot to me of his character.
Tell us about your district and the key issues there that you hear from constituents.
Yeah, so I think, people in Bartlett and Lakeland, District 3, we have a different point of view than you might see other places of the county. And I do think that our area deserves someone who shares their values and their viewpoint. But who's someone who's also willing to listen when maybe you don't agree on everything with the voters, but also someone who's willing to listen to them and try to understand their point of view, even if you don't happen to agree. And then also be willing to have a dialogue with everyone else and figure out where areas where we can reach agreement.
What's a different point of view? Be specific. What do you mean?
Yeah, so it's a conservative area. Bartlett and Lakeland, both very conservative. They tend to vote Republican. They vote for conservative candidates. A couple years ago, I got the opportunity to help Ted Cruz. So I was a district chair for Ted Cruz for president. Was elected delegate, so I got to serve as a delegate up in Cleveland back in 2016. Ted Cruz did not win the nomination, but he actually won Bartlett, so I'm happy about that. And that's just the kind of point of view that people in my district have. We're just very conservative. We're very religious perspective, and people just want to see their tax dollars spent wisely. They want to see us keeping tax rates lower, paying down the debt. As we've done, I think we've done a good job over the past 8 years, being conservative with our budget.
So those are the key issues for residents there in Bartlett?
Yeah, so again, I would go back to the three areas where I think I can make a difference is our public safety,
Yep.
is the strength of our economy, and our education system. And so those were the three things that I thought, and children in particular, my brother living here in the district as well, his 4 children, I think about their future. I think about how are we educating them, what kind of life are we giving them, what kind of opportunities they will have. And so the county commission being the biggest funder of the schools and being the funder of our sheriff deputies, and being a body that is responsible in some ways for economic development, those three areas, safety, economic strength, and schools, are important.
Talk to me a bit about the broader view of Shelby County, because obviously, as you point out, in Lakeland and Bartlett, people have a more conservative viewpoint,
Sure.
different point of view, and things are relatively prosperous, particularly in Lakeland, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But elsewhere in Shelby County, things are very different,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in North and South Memphis, where you have grinding poverty and also some economic inequality issues, along with arrested development issues where communities haven't had much economic development for decades. So how are you, as part of this body, how would you view those kind of issues that would obviously demand the body's attention, if not yours individually?
Yeah. It is different. Like you said, the things are going well in Bartlett and Lakeland. I think I just saw Lakeland's home values were up like 37% in the last year, or something incredible like that. And that's not true everywhere. And as a county as a whole, we continue to see we're losing people. We have a net loss of population. We also have extremely high poverty, and we have a school system where only 1 in 5 third graders are reading at a 3rd grade level. That's unacceptable. That's completely unacceptable. I know the county commission isn't there in the classroom. I know the county commission cannot dictate what the schools do, and we're primarily an up or down vote on their budget. But I think we can also advocate. We can use, I guess, some soft leadership and try to come up with a shared vision. I think we're all in this together. The more jobs and the more business we can bring anywhere in the county is good for everyone in the county. The more job opportunities there are, the better the schools are, the safer the streets are. It's good for all of us. So I would commit to working with all the commissioners and the mayor's office and everyone else, the schools, to make this a safer, stronger, and smarter county.
You talked about economic development. You're obviously a fiscal conservative. How do you feel about the use of tax incentives to bring industry in, but also to grow homegrown tax increment funding, pilots, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Well, I just yesterday I got to sit down and have lunch with John Threadgill, who is the president of the Bartlett Area Chamber, and I just asked him at the beginning of lunch, I said, what are some things that I can do as a county commissioner to bring in business? What can I do? And he spoke for the next hour pretty much straight. He's a great talker, and he just barely even scratched the surface for what we can do. And so I'm still not entirely clear on what we can do or what our strategy needs to be. But I'm willing to learn. I think we need to dig in. I think, again, we need to realize we're all in it together. And I think we need people who are serious about jobs, serious about bringing in business, and serious about reversing some of these statistics we see. So specifically about pilots and about TIFs, these incentives that we give. Give me just a second to kind of explain my philosophy. So I'll get there in just one second. So I think the ideal situation would be that a business wants to come to Memphis, right? A business wants to either come here or stay here or expand here. And we shouldn't have to do a single thing. They should just want it because Memphis is a great place. Unfortunately, I don't think that's where we're at right now. Maybe we can get there. But for right now, that's not happening.
Plus, there are other communities that are trying to be competitive, offering incentives.
Right. We're all competing for it. So I think my second, so that would be my first. My ideal would be we just don't have to do anything. They'll come, they'll stay, they'll grow. So my second fallback would be, is there some way that we could set just a baseline tax rate that would be low enough to entice people to come and do business here? Now, if that were the case, I imagine we already would have done it. But the reason why I would support that second is because I think the more you get politicians involved in, or anybody involved in making deals with one-off businesses, it just invites even the appearance of favoritism or payback, or there's just some ethical issues there. So my third preference would be to use whatever kind of instrument we can use to do that. Now, I do like that the EDGE board is at least one step removed from politics. I don't like to see politicians claiming, hey, I created these jobs. No, you didn't create anything. But we can set the conditions, and we can set up a framework that entices business, and we should.
Do you think the county's property tax is too high?
It is. It's too high still. Our effective property tax rate is still twice the state average, and it's the highest in the state. Now, is that the only reason that we're losing people? I don't think so. But it's a contributing factor, and I'd like to see us continue to chip away. It's gone down over the last few years, a penny at a time. I think just this week they voted again to shave a penny off. I think that's probably a prudent way to do it, so that you have a predictable level of revenue coming in, and people can plan for what we're doing.
You mentioned public safety as an issue earlier in your district. What do you mean by that? Is it a crime issue? Is it encroaching into your areas? Or what is it specifically about public safety
Yeah. So in Lakeland in particular, there is concern. They don't have their own police force in Lakeland, and so they rely on the sheriff's deputies to patrol. And right now, I don't think they have even one dedicated patrol in Lakeland. And Lakeland's a fairly large area, and they would like to have more resources in their city. And right now, so many things are happening in Lakeland that there's no way they could afford their own police force. So that's going to remain a burden that the county will share. Also, we have still very troubling things happening with children being abducted. I don't know if Wolf Chase is still the hot spot. I know it was a few years ago where young people were being taken into very terrible conditions. And so I know at one point there was a crackdown on...
Are you talking about sex trafficking?
Yeah, sex trafficking. Wolf Chase was identified as one of the hottest spots, I think, at least in the state. Wolf Chase Mall. And that's right. That's not in my district. It's right next door. And so there is a concern overall for some of the things that are happening in our community, around our community. And if there's anything that I can do as a county commissioner to help the sheriff's office, help our judicial system, I'm in.
I'm going to steal your question.
Go for it.
in the course of your campaigning, how has that impacted you? How has that changed you? What have you learned about yourself by campaigning?
So I have a really long answer that's probably really boring right now, but I'd like to write a book about it someday. But again, it goes back to the last time around. I ran for Bartlett alderman 4 years ago. That really threw me into, like I said, I was very introspective, and I determined that there were basically five pursuits in my life that I wanted to follow. And it kind of comes from something that Benjamin Franklin said. So you've probably heard the aphorism, early to bed, early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. So those are three of my pursuits, healthy, wealthy, wise. And then the other two are holy and happy. And they kind of go in order. And this is way too much information for you, but there are five aspects to your life as well. So you have a spiritual aspect, you have your mental health, your spiritual health, your mental health, your physical health, your social health, and your, what am I missing? Emotional health, exactly. So those five match up kind of pretty well: holy, happy, healthy, wealthy, wise. So what I do, and this is, I know I'm complete geek for doing this, but I dedicate each month to one of those pursuits. That's why I'm wearing braces today, just trying to improve my dental health, among other things. I got into running. I ran my first marathon with St. Jude last December. But just that, that's what it did to my mind, is I realized there's so many problems in the world, and it has to start with me. It has to start with me fixing myself, because if the world is a problem, I'm part of the world, so I'm part of the problem, and the only person that can fix my part of the problem is me. So I'm working on me first, and I hope to inspire others to do the same, not to point fingers, but to inspire them to figure out what's important to them in their own lives, and not just leave it as a pipe dream or something that they wish one day would happen, but that we could all take steps to better ourselves.
One last question for me, at least.
Sure.
If you were elected, how would that change your duties, if at all, at youth villages?
I don't think it will. So our meeting schedule, the county commission's meeting schedule, is not exactly the most convenient for working people, and I have a regular 8:30 to 5 kind of schedule, but they've indicated willingness just to be flexible on that, so that I may be able to take off a little early on a Monday and work late on another day to make it work.
Well, just to that point real quick, not only is it inconvenient for commissioners who work, but it's also inconvenient for citizens who work, that can't attend the meetings. Would that be something you would maybe look into, and maybe rescheduling meetings in the evenings?
Absolutely.
Great.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks.